Welcome to the world of science fiction stories, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe my channel. Enjoy the listening. Curious aliens investigated a human warship. It was their biggest mistake. The massive alien science vessel Inquirer slowed to a halt near the edge of Consortium territory. Its sleek hull, shaped like a flattened teardrop, reflected the distant starlight as it hung in space, scanning the mysterious object ahead. On the command deck, Captain Ta stood with his forearms crossed, two behind his back and two stroking his chin tentacles thoughtfully. The room buzzed with the quiet efficiency of his crew, all members of the Aurelian species like himself, known throughout the galaxy for their analytical minds and careful approach to the unknown. "Captain, scans are complete," Science Officer Bin announced, her voice calm and measured as data scrolled across her screen. She adjusted the sensory nodes on her head. "The vessel ahead is approximately 1.2 km in length. Power readings are minimal, suggesting it may be disabled or in some form of power conservation mode." Ta moved closer to the main view screen, his eyes narrowing as he studied the dark, angular shape floating silently in the void. Unlike the flowing, organic designs of Consortium vessels, this ship was blocky and utilitarian. Its hull was marked with unfamiliar symbols, the most prominent being UEES Defiant. "Can we determine its origin?" Ta asked, leaning forward. "Negative, Captain," Bin replied. "The design matches nothing in our database. This appears to be a previously unencountered species." Communications officer hand-turned from her station, the light blue skin of her face reflecting concern. "Captain, I've been broadcasting standard greeting protocols on all frequencies for the past 20 minutes. No response from the vessel." Captain Ta moved to Han's station, examining the communication logs. "Try the elder frequencies as well. Perhaps they use older technology." "Already attempted, sir. No response on any channel." Security Officer Jun, a veteran of 3 border conflicts, approached the captain with a data pad, his posture rigid even for an Aurelian. "Captain, I must formally register my concerns about this encounter. We know nothing about this species or their intentions. Approaching closer, especially boarding without invitation, could be considered a hostile act." The bridge fell silent as the crew waited for the captain's response. Ta was known for his scientific curiosity, but also for his caution. "Your concern is noted, Officer Jun," Ta said finally. "But consider the opportunity before us, a completely unknown vessel and potentially a new species. The Consortium hasn't made first contact with an advanced space-faring civilization in over 200 cycles." He turned to address the entire bridge crew. "The vessel appears disabled. It may be in distress. Our laws and our ethics compel us to offer assistance." Jun persisted. "Sir, at minimum we should call for a diplomatic vessel. First contact situations are outside our mission parameters." Ta gestured dismissively with his lower arms. "By the time a diplomatic vessel arrives, the ship could drift into the asteroid field 6 light minutes from here. Besides, we are scientists. What better crew to make this discovery?" "The ship's design suggests military purpose," Jun pointed out. "Those protrusions along the hull match weapon emplacements seen in many species." "An assumption we cannot make without closer inspection," Ta countered. "Many species display defensive capabilities without aggressive intent." He turned to face the view screen again. "We represent the most advanced civilization in this sector. It is our duty to investigate and, if needed, offer our help." Jun knew from experience that the captain's mind was made up. He bowed slightly, a sign of respect despite disagreement. "Then I request to lead the boarding party myself, sir, with a full security complement." Ta nodded. "Granted, but this is a scientific mission. I want Science Officer Bin, Engineer Sun, and Biologist Nun on the team as well." "Sir, we should send probes first," Bin suggested, her sensory nodes flickering with concern. "Our probes might be seen as aggressive," Ta replied. "A small team showing clear scientific intent is less threatening. Prepare a boarding shuttle. Standard first contact protocols." As the boarding party made their preparations, Ta returned to his command chair, studying the mysterious vessel. The consortium had encountered many new species over the centuries, but always pre-spaceflight civilizations they could guide and uplift to join their collective. A species that had already achieved interstellar travel independently was rare and potentially troublesome for consortium expansion plans. In the shuttle bay, Officer Jun checked his team's equipment one final time. "Defensive shields only," he instructed his security personnel. "No weapons are to be visible unless I give the command." He turned to the scientists. "Stay behind security at all times. Do not touch anything without scanning it first." Science Officer Bin nodded, her equipment cases floating beside her on gravity disks. "Our primary objective is information gathering. We don't know what condition we'll find inside. If the crew is present but unresponsive, they may require medical assistance," biologist Lun added, checking her medical scanner. "Their life support readings are unusual, high oxygen content." The boarding shuttle, a small craft designed for short-range transport, detached from the Inquirer and made its way slowly toward the mysterious vessel. As they approached, the true scale of the ship became apparent. "The hull composition is unlike anything I've seen," Engineer Sun commented, running his sensors over the dark metal surface. "Incredibly dense alloys, radiation shielding well beyond what should be necessary for space travel." Jun studied the ship's exterior. "Those are definitely weapon emplacements, multiple types, and more than I initially estimated." The shuttle circled the giant ship, looking for an entry point. They eventually located what appeared to be a docking bay, its doors partially open. "This could be an invitation," Bin suggested hopefully. "Or a trap," Jun countered. "Captain, we found a potential entry point, requesting permission to proceed." Captain Ta's voice came through the comm system. "Proceed with caution. Maintain constant communication." The shuttle carefully maneuvered into the darkened bay, setting down on the metal deck with a soft thud. Through the viewport, they could see the cavernous space was filled with smaller craft, angular, aggressive-looking vessels clearly designed for combat. "Military vessels," Jun confirmed. "This is a warship, Captain." "Understood," Ta replied. "Proceed anyway, but with increased caution." As the boarding party prepared to exit their shuttle, none of them noticed the tiny cameras tracking their movements from the shadows. None of them detected the silent alarms that had triggered the moment they entered the ship's space. None of them realized that deep within the supposedly disabled vessel, human crew members were quietly moving into position, watching the aliens with intense curiosity. The boarding ramp extended, touching the deck of the UES Defiant. Officer Jun led the way, scanners sweeping for dangers. Behind him, the scientific team followed with a mixture of caution and excitement. They had no idea they were being tested. They had no idea they were making first contact on humanity's terms, not their own. The alien boarding party moved through the corridors of the human warship with cautious steps. Their boots made soft, clicking sounds on the metal floor. The air felt strangely heavy compared to their ship. Emergency lights cast long shadows down the hallways, giving everything an eerie red glow. Security Officer Jun led the group, his scanner sweeping back and forth. Two more security personnel flanked the scientists, eyes alert for any movement. "Atmosphere is breathable," biologist Lun announced, checking her instruments. "Oxygen-nitrogen mix, slightly higher oxygen than our standard. Temperature is maintained at what seems to be crew comfort levels despite minimal power readings." Engineer Sun stopped to examine an exposed panel in the wall. He ran his six-fingered hand over the circuits with professional curiosity. "Fascinating engineering. These systems appear primitive at first glance, but look closer." He pointed to a complex array of backup systems. "Triple redundancy everywhere. They build expecting failure." Jun nodded. "Military thinking. Always have backups for your backups." The corridor opened into a wider section. Pipes and conduits ran along the ceiling, disappearing into the darkness ahead. Doors lined both sides, all closed. "Should we try to access one of these rooms?" Science Officer Bin asked, her sensory nodes glowing faintly in the dim light. Jun hesitated. "Let's find the command center first. It would give us the best overview of the vessel and its crew." They continued forward, following the ship's logical layout. The hallways gradually widened, suggesting they were approaching a central area. "These markings," Lund said, pointing to symbols on the wall. "They repeat at regular intervals. They could be directional indicators or emergency information." Bin scanned the symbols with her device. "The shapes don't match any known language in our database." After 20 minutes of careful exploration, they found what appeared to be the main bridge. Unlike the sleek, open command centers of consortium vessels, this room was compact and clearly designed for functionality rather than comfort. Workstations were arranged in tight clusters around a central chair. Screens covered most surfaces. "Power seems to be in standby mode," Sun observed, examining a console, "but the systems are intact." Jun moved to what appeared to be the security station, his eyes narrowing as he studied the layout. "These defensive positions are interesting. Notice how the corridors we traveled are designed to channel any boarding party to specific areas." He pointed to a schematic on the screen. "See these choke points and these hidden alcoves? Perfect for ambush positions." "You think they expected to be boarded?" Bin asked, her voice hushed. "They designed for it," Jun confirmed. "This species builds with combat in mind." Lun had found another terminal and was carefully attempting to access it. After several attempts, the screen flickered to life. "I found what might be a database," she announced. "The translation matrix is having difficulty, but I'm getting some basic information." The others gathered around her as streams of alien text scrolled across the screen. The translation program struggled to convert the unfamiliar language, but gradually words began to form. "It identifies the creators as humans," Lun read aloud. "They evolved on a planet they call Earth. High-gravity world compared to consortium standards, oxygen-rich atmosphere." She continued reading, her voice growing more concerned. "They have recorded history of warfare dating back thousands of years, nearly continuous conflict." "A war species," Jun muttered. "That explains the ship design." Sun had moved to another station. "I'm accessing engineering logs. Their propulsion technology is different from ours but remarkably effective. They use a form of gravitational manipulation we haven't seen before." His face showed a mixture of admiration and concern. "They've developed solutions to problems we solved differently. Some of their approaches are quite ingenious." Bin was scanning the bridge carefully. "Something doesn't add up. If this ship was abandoned or the crew died, where are they? No signs of bodies or evacuation." "Captain," Jun activated his communicator, connecting back to the Inquirer. "I'm reporting our initial findings. This vessel belongs to a species called humans. They appear to be a highly militarized civilization with technology that, while different from ours, is advanced in certain areas." Captain Ta's voice came through clearly. "Any sign of the crew?" "Negative, Captain. The ship appears deserted, but there are no signs of what happened to them. The life support systems are functioning normally." Security Officer Min, who had been examining defensive systems on the bridge, interrupted. "Captain, I believe we should withdraw immediately. This entire setup feels wrong." "Explain," Ta demanded. "The ship is designed to trap boarding parties," Min replied. "These defensive positions, the corridor layouts, they're all tactical, and there's something else." He pointed to tiny lenses embedded in the ceiling corners. "I believe we're being observed." Captain Ta started to respond when suddenly the lights throughout the ship brightened to full intensity. The dim red emergency lighting was replaced by clean white illumination that revealed the bridge in all its details. The aliens froze, blinking in the sudden brightness. A new voice spoke from all around them, deep human male. "Attention, unauthorized boarding party. You have entered a United Earth ship without permission." Screens around the bridge activated simultaneously, showing various areas of the ship. Hidden compartments in the wall slid open, revealing weapon systems. "Do not move," the voice continued. "You are surrounded." On one screen, they could see the corridor they had traveled through. Armed figures in heavy armor were moving swiftly toward the bridge, each carried weapons unlike anything the aliens had seen before. Jun reached for his defensive shield generator, but stopped when he heard the distinctive sound of a weapon charging behind him. He turned slowly to see a section of wall had slid aside, revealing a hidden compartment. A human stood there, armored and armed, weapon pointed directly at the alien boarding party. The human's face was partially visible behind a transparent section of helmet. The alien scientists were seeing a human for the first time, pink-skinned, with hair on the top of the head and a sturdy build that spoke of evolution on a high-gravity world. "I am Commander Wu of the UES Defiant," the human said, voice calm but authoritative. "You will remain where you are until our security team arrives." More hidden doors opened around the bridge, revealing additional humans in combat positions. They had been there all along, watching, waiting. On the Inquirer, Captain Ta watched his screens in growing horror as the supposedly dead ship blazed to life. Power readings suddenly spiked off the charts. Weapon systems activated all along the massive hull. "Captain," his sensor officer called out in alarm. "The ship is powering up, multiple weapon systems targeting us." A communication request flashed on the main screen. Ta hesitated only briefly before accepting it. The face that appeared was clearly the same species they had discovered in the database, human. This one appeared to be older, with facial hair and piercing eyes that seemed to look right through Ta. "Captain Ta," the human said, somehow knowing his name. "This is Admiral Kang of the United Earthship Defiant. Your boarding party is in our custody." The trap had been sprung. The investigation had turned into a nightmare. What had seemed like a scientific opportunity was quickly revealing itself as the biggest mistake the consortium had ever made. The bridge of the human warship suddenly transformed from a seemingly abandoned command center to a hive of activity. Hidden panels in the walls, floor, and ceiling slid open with mechanical precision. From these concealed compartments emerged human soldiers in powered combat armor, massive suits that enhanced their already sturdy frames, making them tower over the alien visitors. Within seconds, the boarding party found themselves surrounded by 12 armored humans, each holding weapons that hummed with energy. The weapons weren't fired, but their aim never wavered. "Do not move," commanded a human officer, his voice amplified through his helmet. "Place your devices on the floor slowly." Security Officer Jun assessed their situation with professional calm, though his inner eyelids flickered rapidly, a sign of stress his species couldn't hide. The humans had positioned themselves with tactical precision. Each member of the boarding party was covered by at least 2 weapons. There were no gaps in their formation, no clear path to escape. "We came in peace," Jun said carefully, lowering his scanner to the floor as instructed. "We believed your vessel was abandoned or in distress." The human officer did not respond immediately. His helmet tilted slightly, suggesting he was receiving communication from elsewhere. The other human soldiers remained eerily still in their powered armor, which made soft mechanical sounds as servo motors adjusted to their breathing. "Thank you for joining us." Ta's 4 arms remained stiffly at his sides, 2 crossed in front of him, a defensive posture. "I had little choice in the matter, Admiral." "True," Park acknowledged with a slight nod. "Please join your crew." Once all were seated, Admiral Park remained standing. "First, I want to assure you that neither your ship nor your crew are in danger, as long as no hostile action is taken. We apologize for the deception, but we needed to understand your intentions when encountering a new species." "You deliberately appeared disabled," Ta stated, his voice carefully neutral. "Yes, a test that your consortium failed," Park replied bluntly. "Rather than attempting prolonged communication or sending unmanned probes, you immediately boarded what you believed was a derelict vessel. Your boarding party then attempted to access secure systems and data." "We believed your crew might need assistance," Ta countered. A new human officer stepped forward. She wore a different uniform than the others, with distinctive markings on the collar. "Our scans show your vessel performed detailed weapons analysis before your boarding party ever launched," she said. "Your first interest was our military capability, not our welfare." Admiral Park gestured to the woman. "This is Commander Kim, our intelligence officer." "You've been watching us?" Ta asked, unable to keep the disbelief from his voice. "For decades," Kim confirmed, activating a display screen on the wall. It showed various consortium vessels at different locations throughout the sector. "We've observed how your consortium approaches pre-spaceflight civilizations, offering them technology and protection while effectively making them dependent vassals." The screen changed to show recordings of consortium representatives meeting with less advanced species. The aliens shifted uncomfortably as they recognized these classified diplomatic missions. "Our vessel was deliberately placed as bait," Admiral Park continued, walking slowly around the table, "at a location we knew your patrol routes would eventually discover. Your actions confirmed our concerns about how you would approach a potentially equal species." Engineer Sun spoke up. "How did you mask your presence from our scans? Our technology should have detected life signs aboard." Commander Kim smiled slightly. "We've studied your sensor technology extensively. It wasn't difficult to create countermeasures once we understood its principles. We've also been monitoring all your communications since you discovered our ship," she added, tapping something on her wrist device. Suddenly, the room filled with the sounds of Captain Ta's voice, giving orders to the boarding party, "Including your internal communications." Ta's skin paled to a lighter blue. "That's impossible. Our quantum encryption is based on principles we've understood for over a century." "Your technology is advanced, Captain, but not uniquely so," Kim finished for him. Admiral Park retook his position at the head of the table.